All right, today we are digging into the absolutely wild 20-year story of La Café International. You might not know the name La Café, but you definitely know their biggest hit, the global bubble tea giant Chat Time.
So the big question is, how does that happen? How does one little coffee shop born from a romantic dream end up taking over the world? Well, it's a story of huge ambition, some absolutely crushing failures, and just incredible resilience.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, La Café's brands, especially Chat Time, are all over the map. We're talking 5 continents. They've even got a shop in Mauritius off the coast of Africa.
And it all adds up to over 2,000 stores worldwide. Think about that. Every single one of them can be traced back to just one shop in Taiwan. Okay, let's get into how they did it.
Every story like this has to start somewhere, right? And this one doesn't start in some corporate boardroom. Nope. It begins with a romantic vision, one inspired by the lavender fields of Provence, of all places.
So you've got the founders, Teresa and Fenry Wang. They were this tech industry power couple. Great careers, everything was stable. And they left it all behind to chase their dream of opening a coffee shop. But they ran headfirst into a brick wall. The Taiwanese beverage market is just ridiculously competitive. They realized pretty fast they couldn't win by just trying to tough it out at home.
So what did they do? They made this unbelievably bold decision. They decided to just leapfrog all the local competition and take their brand overseas, almost right away. But this move, it came with a learning curve that was so brutal, it almost killed the entire company.
Yeah, their international journey wasn't some smooth ride to the top. It was honestly more like falling down a flight of stairs. Just one devastating near-fatal blow after another.
I mean, it was just a cascade of crises. They lost their entire investment in the US because of a simple customs rule they didn't know about. They expanded like crazy in China, only to lose every penny. And then in Hong Kong, where they were actually successful, it all vanished overnight because of a food scandal back in Taiwan that had nothing to do with them.
And that China expansion alone, get this, they lost over 100 million new Taiwan dollars. Just gone, wiped out. This quote from Teresa, the co-founder, really just paints a picture of the insane pressure they were under. She was pregnant, back home in Taiwan, literally dealing with high-interest loan sharks to keep the lights on, but the financial stress was about to turn into actual physical danger.
This is just unbelievable. After their Hong Kong sales crashed, their franchisees, who had lost everything, literally took them up to a famous viewpoint, Victoria Peak, to demand their money back. They were held there for 12 hours. Can you even imagine how terrifying that must have been?
At this point, they had no way to go back. The only option was to push forward. Their absolute last hope was a new store they were opening in Australia. And this time, they did things completely differently.
In Sydney, they went back to basics. I mean, the founders themselves were standing on the street day after day yelling, "Buy one, get one free," for 9 hours straight. They were winning over customers one cup at a time. It just shows their incredible grit. They were right there on the front lines.
And you know what? It didn't just work, it exploded. They didn't just sell a product, they built a brand that became a status symbol. It got so popular that students would literally buy other, cheaper drinks and pour them into empty chai time cups just to carry the logo around. That success, right there in Australia, became the blueprint for their global domination.
So how do you scale that? How do you take that one street corner success story in Sydney and replicate it all over the world? Well, it came down to a really powerful core philosophy they developed.
This right here is their secret sauce. They call it glocal. You know, a mix of global and local. They finally understood that you can't just drop a global brand into a new country and expect it to work. You have to empower local people who actually get the culture, the tastes, and all the local rules.
And it's all built on this model they call the Golden Triangle. The logic is so simple, but it's brilliant. It's an unbreakable chain. First, the consumer has to be happy. If the consumer is happy, then the local partner makes a profit. And only if the local partner is making money does the parent company La Café make money from royalties. Everybody has to win.
And you can really see this philosophy in action. About 80% of the menu is standard across the world, but they give their local partners the freedom to innovate with the other 20%. And that's where you get these amazing local creations, like durian milk tea in Southeast Asia, or, get this, drinks with 150 or even 200% sugar options for the market in Indonesia. It's all about adapting.
So after almost 20 years of learning all these lessons the hard way, all around the globe, La Cafa finally turned its attention back home, back to that super competitive market in Taiwan where it all started.
And they made such a smart move. They acquired Hanlin Tea Room, the very brand that's credited with actually inventing bubble tea 40 years ago. The goal was brilliant. Combined the world's first with the world's best and used their global expertise to take this legacy brand onto the world stage.
And the results were immediate. Hanlin's revenue shot up by over 30% in the very first year. It was the ultimate proof that their global model could create massive growth for any brand, anywhere.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the one key takeaway from this incredible 20-year saga? Well, it comes down to a piece of wisdom that co-founder Teresa Wang got from her father.
Thrive in adversity, perish in comfort. They never forgot the feeling of being hunted by loan sharks. They never forgot the terror of being held on that mountaintop. They have this healthy fear, and it's what keeps them hungry. It's why they treat every single year as if it's their first year in business all over again.
And that's just such a powerful mindset, isn't it? It forces you to constantly innovate, to never get comfortable. And it was born from nearly losing everything. It really makes you think, what challenge are you treating as a fresh start? What's your year one?